This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, everybody on the best behavior, being recorded here. Okay, so before we start, I just wanted to share. Look, we're doing a lot of technical stuff. Okay, and it's very important not to lose sight of what we are all about, what this is all about, and get too bogged down in the technicalities. Don't get me wrong. I'm an Orthodox rabbi. The technicalities are important. The halacha is super important, and we have to keep all the halacha. But at the same time, there needs to be this focus. So, I shall be sorry. Do you have a card? No. Okay. And are you guys on the WhatsApp group? Shelby, you should be, right? Huh? Yeah, you are. Yes, yes, yes. Good. Okay. So this happened with one of the members of my original Jewish Journeys group, going back probably about 12 years or more than that, 12, 13, 14 years ago. A very, very accomplished young man. He was this investor stock. He had a company that he was in charge, and he was, had people working under him doing hedge funds, whatever he was doing, stuff way over my head. He comes to me one night and he's all upset. And I said, "What's wrong? What's going on?" And he says, "I don't know what I'm doing." So what do you mean? He goes, "I don't know why I'm doing this." I said, "Okay, let's talk. What's going on? What happened?" He said, "Here I am. I'm so careful with my laws of Shabbos and laws of this and laws of that, and I had to let one of the guys working for me go, and I wiped the floor with this person. How he's not doing, he's doing terrible work, and I can't have him here anymore, and I right, and I felt so bad about the way I treated this guy. Like, why am I being so careful about the laws of this, laws of that, if this is how I treat another person?" And I said to him, "You know something? You're 100% right. You're missing the point. You are missing the point. And every mitzvah that we do and every careful scrutiny that we give as to how do I do this on Shabbat? How do I do this in my kitchen? What do I buy? What don't I buy when I'm going to the grocery store?" Every time you do that, it's supposed to remind you, I'm living in God's world. I go to the grocery store. That is my Garden of Eden moment. And what doesn't have kosher certification, those things which need kosher certification and don't have kosher certification, I've told everybody the most important kosher app to have on your phone is CRC Kosher, Chicago Rabbinical Council Kosher. It is an incredible app. First of all, it'll give you a list of all of the logos of the kosher certifications that are reliable, that are recommended. They'll give you a list of all foods and let you know, does it need a hechsher or not? You're buying sugar, you're buying wheat. Does it need a hechsher? Does it need certification? Does it not? You're buying fruits and vegetables. The only problem with fruits and vegetables that you have is, as long as it's raw, fresh, what's the only problem that you have? Bugs. Okay? Bugs. We're not allowed to eat bugs. They're not kosher. Right? So, right, I'll let you know which ones are problematic, which ones are not problematic. If they are problematic, so then how can you deproblematize it? Right? How do you get rid of it? Right? It's an amazing app. Pesach, they have a whole one button they have there is over the counter medication. Right? Which cough drops are kosher? Which, right? Now, if you're buying just regular, taking a pill, you take a pill. But something that has flavor to it, like cough drops and things like that, or certain cough medication, the liquid, right? It's an amazing app. So you walk into a store, you're having your Garden of Eden moment. And whatever is not kosher certified, that is the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Stay away from that. What is that meant to remind you? The sin in the Garden of Eden was that it's our garden. We can do whatever we want. All right? That was the problem. The reason why there was a tree they were not supposed to eat from, and that tree was in the garden instead of taking it away from the garden, was because they needed to be there and know that this is not our garden. This is God's garden. We are guests here. You go to someone's house, you sit at the table, you have a nice meal there if you're invited there. You don't start opening up the cupboards and seeing what's in the closets. Why? Because it's not your house. It's not your house. The Garden of Eden was meant to teach them it's not their house. And the laws of kashrut are meant to teach us we're living in God's house. And therefore there are parameters. And every mitzvah is meant to be an interaction between us and Hashem. A mitzvah is a physical act by a physical person in the physical world that touches the spiritual, that touches the eternal. That's what a mitzvah is. And every mitzvah is meant to increase our awareness. And Shabbos, everything on Shabbos, can I do this? Can I not do this? Well, God created. God stopped creating on the seventh day. He didn't rest. He didn't get tired. He stopped creating. So we don't do all these creative activities on Shabbat. We don't alter the world to fit our needs. We bask in the beauty and the glow of God's world on Shabbat. And that's to make us remember we're in God's world. So I said to this young man, right, if the mitzvot, if you were doing them with that in mind and allowing that to be your focus, so then when you're running a business, great, run a business. And you have to let someone go, that happens. You've got to run your business. You can't hire everyone. You can't keep everyone. You got to find the right people. You have to let someone go. But if your focus is where it's meant to be, so then you say, this person is God's child. How would God want me to treat this child of his when I have to let them go? Also to give thought, if the roles were reversed, it's a very powerful tool to use. If the roles were reversed, how would I like to be treated? That's how we need to treat people when they come to us. And then you'd say, God, this is God's child. Okay, you explain to him, you've got, or her, I don't know what it was, who it was, right? Listen, you're a wonderful person. I've enjoyed having you work with me. There were certain goals that we needed to reach, and we're not reaching those goals. And therefore, it's not going to work out for you to continue to work here. All right, I'm sorry, but I need to let you go. But find some positive things about this person and let the person walk out with their head held high and go on to something else. And this is such an important story because, we're going to be dealing with a lot of these different technicalities. And the technicalities are important because, if I have the most uplifted spiritual aspirations and I take the holy tefillin and I wrap them around my leg, it's not going to accomplish anything. It needs to be wrapped around my arm. It needs to go on my head. So therefore, the details are important. The details are crucial. But it's not all about the details. It's when we do that, the goal, we make a blessing before we eat. We make a blessing after we eat. We make a blessing of thanks after we go to the bathroom. Could you imagine that? Remind me, someone sent me an email or on the WhatsApp to share with you an article written in JAMA, J-A-M-A, Journal of American Medical Association, about, believe it or not, Asher Yatzar. Asher Yatzar is the name of the blessing that we make after we use the bathroom successfully. And study biology, you see, it is an absolute wonder when we use the bathroom successfully. It is a series of concentration gradients that the body just keeps adjusting in order to extract the uric acid. And It's just amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. So we make a bracha before we make a bracha after we make a bracha when we use the restroom, right? We make a bracha. We make loads of brachot in our davening, in our prayers, right? The Gemara says you make 100 brachot a day. What's the point of 100 brachot a day? What's the point of a bracha, my friends? God awareness, God acknowledgement, God appreciation, God, God, God. That's what we're supposed to be living, and all these mitzvot are meant to give us that God focus. I'm walking in God's world. I had a group that I get together once a month. I get together for a half hour on Zoom. My brother, one of my brothers, gets together with his high school friends, and some of them are religious, some of them are not religious. They get together once a week and they have like an hour Zoom. And I decided that once a month we should have a rabbi come on that we can ask questions to and slug it out with. So I got nominated. I have a really good time with it. Really, really, really great. One of my brothers, one of them. These are guys that I knew as a kid growing up. These are my big brother's friends. It's a blast. It's a blast. So we were talking today just about appreciation, right? And when a person makes these brachot, wasn't going to bracha with them. When a person is living an appreciative life, life is good. Life is great. Every single person has so much to focus on and appreciate, and so much things that cause us some pain, some hardship, things that we wish. Everyone's got that. And where is my focus? Where I decide to focus, that becomes my world, and I'm either living in paradise or I'm living in hell. Same life. Same exact life. It's either paradise or it's hell. You decide. You decide what are you going to focus on. And all these brachot help us to focus on, thank you, God, for what we have. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Baruch atah Hashem, Baruch atah Hashem, Baruch atah Hashem, Baruch atah Hashem. So that's what I said to this guy. Yeah, you're right. You're totally screwing up here. You're totally missing the point here. And with your careful Shabbat and your careful kashrut and careful this, careful that, if you're not treating people properly, you're missing the point because you're not using those to bring your Hashem, God awareness into your dealings. And an interaction like that results, and that was a horrific interaction. Yeah. Okay. With that having been said, let us come back to some of the technicalities and where we are in the book. I'm sorry. So I'll send it again on the WhatsApp. We're using this book. Good to get a hold of this book. Now, I made a mistake. Natalie corrected me. I asked her, and I was duly corrected. So we spoke about the Shabbos candle lighting. Okay? So we said, how is Shabbos candle lighting an exception to the normal way that we do mitzvot? How is it an exception from the normal way? It's not a rhetorical question. Yes?
We say the blessing after.
Good. Typically, we do a mitzvah. What do? We make the bracha, and then we do the mitzvah. Right? The blessing is that you have sanctified us, Kiddishana, with your mitzvot, and commanded us to fill in the blank. So typically, that's what we do. Candle lighting is an exception. Why is candle lighting? With candle lighting, you first light the candles, and only then you make the bracha. Why is candle lighting an exception? I'm sorry?
We don't want to get benefit from.
But why? Yes, benefit is a key. But why do we first light and then make the bracha? Because if we were to when a woman makes the bracha, then right away she is accepting Shabbat. By making the blessing on the candles, you are accepting Shabbat. Once you accept Shabbat, what can't you do? Can't light the candles. Now, so in those situations, we say make the bracha. If you can't make the bracha before you start, so minimally make the bracha before you finish. Make the bracha, if not before you start, make the bracha in the middle. Don't make the bracha after it's over already. Well, what is the mitzvah of the Shabbat candles? What purpose are they serving? Light, beauty, right? Warmth, right? We gaze, right? We have a candlelit dinner every Friday night. That sounds pretty nice, doesn't it? Pretty romantic, right? You might have 20 guests, but still, right? So we have a candlelit dinner. It's meant to add to the shalom bayit, to the tranquility, the beauty, the serenity of the home. That's what it's about. So therefore, what does the woman do? She lights the candles, covers her eyes so as to not get benefit from the candles, makes the blessing, and then gets the benefit. Because it's the lighting and the benefit that is the mitzvah. So if we can't do the bracha before the lighting, at least do the bracha before we finish. Do it in the middle. So we cover our eyes, make the bracha, and then we enjoy the light. Okay. So then, and here's the mistake that I made. There is an opinion that says like me, but that's not the consensus opinion. So I was incorrect, and I double checked with Natalie over this Yom Tov. So the question came up on Yom Tov. Now men realize for men it's different. If Natalie's away and I'm lighting candles, I'm not accepting Shabbos with my bracha. I still have to drive to shul. I still need to daven mincha. So I make the bracha, then I light the candles. On Yom Tov, we're allowed to not ignite a flame, not extinguish a flame, but we are allowed to pass a flame from one to the other. So therefore, on Yom Tov, in fact, not like I said last time, on Yom Tov, there the woman makes the bracha and then lights the candles. Again, from an existing flame, right? Before Yom Tov, we have in the house a few 3-day candles. And that way, the first day of Yom Tov, it's not a problem. You make the bracha and then you light. But the second day of Yom Tov, you can't start a flame, right? So therefore, what we do is, right, you have a flame. The older ovens might still have a pilot light. Industrial ovens have a pilot light. Here in the shul, the ovens, the stovetops, have a pilot light. Most at home no longer have that. Most of them are electric start. So you need to have a 48, 72-hour candle that's burning. But on Yom Tov, you can make the bracha. You make the bracha and then light. Because even though you've accepted Yom Tov, you're allowed to pass a flame on Yom Tov. Clear?
On which Yom Tov?
On any Yom Tov, besides, let's say, even Yom Kippur. No, Yom Kippur, we're not going to light it. Yeah. On any, let's say, besides Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, Pesach, Sukkot, Shavuot. Okay? Sorry? Those are the
Yom Tov?
Yes, those are the Yom Tov. Yom Tov are the holidays. Okay? Now, one thing I mentioned last time, which is important. Let's say you're planning on lighting at home, but you want to get a ride to shul or drive to shul. Right? So there, what can you do? You can make a condition. It's called a Tanai, a condition, that I'm not accepting Shabbat with my candle lighting. Okay? I'm not accepting Shabbat with my candle lighting.
So the process would then be like how
You would still do like a regular Shabbat, okay? But you're not accepting Shabbat yet. You could drive to shul, and then once you get to shul, you would accept Shabbat. And you're good. Or if you're here with davening we accept Shabbat. With the very end of L'cha Dodi, that's when we accept Shabbat.
And then you drive home or you walk?
No driving. No. Right.
Okay.
This is only if you're getting to shul before Shabbat actually begins. Okay? Meaning Shabbat begins. That's non-negotiable. But typically we bring in Shabbat earlier. Okay? But right? And a woman brings it in with candle lighting. If, let's say, this Friday night we're eating out tonight, Friday night, so now it's going to come with me to shul. So probably she's going to. I'm not sure. No, actually, it's too early to light. Yeah, it's really not an issue. Too early to light. But in a case where it's not too early to light, right? There's also an earliest time to light Shabbat candles. And right now, Shabbat, we daven here 6:15. The earliest time is about 6:30 something. Yeah, so you can't light it home first. Yes, Gabrielle.
When you say we're gonna eat out, I thought that you're not supposed to buy anything on
Okay. Yes, thank you. When I said eat out, I meant that we're invited to someone's home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When we're not eating out at a restaurant or something like that. That's correct. Yes, Eva.
So just to understand, so if we're doing like one of the conditional Shabbat lightings, we will light at home. We do not say the blessing.
No, you do say the
We do say
blessings,
the blessing.
but the condition, right? It's only like de facto that when you make the bracha, right? So then that you're accepting Shabbat. But if you clearly make a condition that I'm not accepting Shabbat, then you're good to go.
Okay. So you say the bracha, and then you essentially say like, I'm not accepting Shabbat.
Right, or you announce, but you say beforehand to yourself, right? I'm not accepting Shabbat. Then you make the bracha, and then you can come to shul, and then during COVID, remember those days, guys? During COVID, so many people were not coming to shul. Well, for a while we were having just Friday night davening. We were doing it on the computer. Of course, I'd have to turn the computer off before we got to the last stanza of the Lecha Dodi prayer we say Friday night, because with that we actually accept Shabbat, right? And then once we started coming, a lot of people still weren't coming, so we would Zoom Friday night davening until the last stanza, and then I would like, Shabbat Shalom, everybody, got to sign off. Crazy times. Okay, where did we leave off, guys, last time?
Page 63. 61.
Okay. All right. 63 is okay. Okay, the Shabbat evening prayers, recitation of Kabbalat Shabbat means accepting Shabbat comprised. Okay, all right. Friday night, you come to shul Friday night. That's what we are doing, right? He says the congregants in the second paragraph. Welcome to Shabbat. We're reciting Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbat, the song for the day of the Sabbath. Other psalms, right? Okay. Don't worry about this. I'll handle this. Everyone should come on time. Good. Okay. From when is it forbidden to do work? Page 64, right? After reciting, that's what I was just talking about. After reciting the concluding words of the Lecha Dodi, which is Bo'i Kala. Bo'i Kala. What's a Kala? Bride. So, right, we welcome the Shabbat bride. Bo'i Kala. And that's what the last stanza of the Lecha Dodi, that we accept Shabbat. Okay. Now, one may not perform work sometime before sunset, whether one recited Kabbalah Shabbat or not. Upon lighting Shabbos candles, women accept upon themselves the beginning of Shabbat and the cessation of prohibited work, unless we said that you make a condition. Okay. Okay, the last paragraph we're not going to go with. Well, what it says is as follows. If the majority of the congregation with which one usually prays have already accepted Shabbat, the other worshippers must also begin to observe Shabbat, even if they're not in synagogue at the time. Now, that's not one of the things that we have. If I'm writing a book, typically I need to write the strictest opinion. Otherwise, people say, "Sinner, what you wrote that in your book? Why didn't you write this?" Right? But okay, if you're in a situation where there's only one group, let's say a camp, you're in camp, okay? It's just people in camp, and camp is accepting Shabbat early, then everyone who's in camp has to accept Shabbat early. But when we hear in Irvine, and there's this synagogue that accepts then, and that group that accepts then, and Chabad does whatever Chabad does, so therefore one is not bound to, even though we start Shabbos here, we start Mincha, afternoon prayer 6:15, and Kabbalah Shabbat about 6:35 or so. If we're home for Shabbat, Natalie is not accepting Shabbos at 6:35. She accepts Shabbos when, right? Candle lighting now is actually about 7:35, 7:40, right? So she'll do when she does. She's not bound to do exactly this. But in a setting where it's a unified setting, camp setting, right? Where they're not these different groups, right? Everyone's together. So then one needs to follow that.
I have a question.
Yes.
So let's say on Friday night I come to the shul with my family while they pray. Does it mean I accept the Shabbos?
So again, you accept Shabbos either when you light candles or when Shabbat begins.
Okay. And then when we go home, can I light the candle also?
Why not? Tell me why not.
I don't know.
Why would she not be able to light candles when she gets home?
Shabbat's already coming.
You already accept the Shabbat.
Okay.
Either you already accept the Shabbat or already is Shabbat.
Oh.
So either way, if it already is Shabbat or if you accepted Shabbat, then you can't light the candles.
And
So
there'd be no point in coming to shul for services, leaving early so that you can get home before Shabbos comes in, because then you missed that last prayer.
correct. Yeah, say it again, Trish, I'm sorry.
Like, would there be any point to come to services on Friday and leave in a time where you could get home to light the candle before
So if
Shabbos
you're
comes
not,
in?
so the only time someone might do that, let's say someone is saying Kaddish and they live far away.
Yeah.
So look, Rabbi, you daven Mincha early, 6:15? I'll come to Mincha. I'll daven Mincha afternoon services with you. I'll say Kaddish, and then I'll drive home, and I'll get home before Shabbat. That can make sense. But otherwise, there's no real point to do it. Yeah. Okay. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. We're not going to go into the Kriyat Shema of Mariv. Okay. Yeah. Let's go. The blessing that conclude. Okay. The Amidah of Mariv. I'm not going to go into this. Typically, women are not necessarily davening Mariv, right? If you're here in shul, you'll be davening Mariv, and we'll announce the pages. You know where we are. You guys are professionals already. If you're not here in shul, you don't need to worry about Mariv. Okay. 72. The Gemara tells us this Kabbalistic idea. Rabbi Yossi said, named Rabbi Yehuda, 2 angels, one good and one bad, accompany a Jew on his way home from the synagogue on Friday night. When they enter the home and find the candles lit, the table set, the house in order, the good angel exclaims, may the next Shabbat be the same. And the bad angel is forced to answer, Amen. If not, the bad angel explains, may the next Shabbat be the same. Not set, not all set. And the good angel is forced to answer, Amen. Based on this, we have the custom that we sing Friday night. What do we sing? Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to you, Malache Hasharet, you angels. Malache Elyon, angels of above. Mimelech, sent from the King of all kings, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem, come in peace. Malache Hashalom, angels of peace. First we call them Malache Hasharet, angels that are ministering. They're fighting because each one has an agenda. By the time we get to the second stanza, what do we call them? Malachi Hashalom, angels of Shalom, of peace. Why? Because one of them gave the bracha, a beautiful Shabbos table, beautiful Shabbat. The other one answered Amen. Now they are in concert with one another. So that is the song that we sing, the Shalom Aleichem song that we sing on Friday night. Okay, let's go. So again, let's go to chapter 5, Kiddush and the Shabbat meal. Shalom Aleichem, we just mentioned that. Okay, that's on page 75. Also, there are the verses of Eshet Chayil, the woman of valor. Okay, this is a hymn of praise composed by Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, on the virtues of the Jewish woman who is accomplished and successful in carrying out all her tasks for the sake of God and His Torah. Okay, so there, Friday night, we sing Shalom Aleichem. We sing the Eshet Chayil, right, lauding the wonderful women. And also, it is customary for parents to bless their children, right? The sons with your, may God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. Daughters, may God make you like Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. And then we say the 3 verse of the priestly blessing, right? Which was part of the Torah reading this past Shabbat. Yes, Gabrielle.
I see in the pictures the candles are on the table, but my friends had like a different place.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is both
Very observant.
okay?
Very observant.
Or-
You can have the candles on the table. I personally do not put the candles on the table because then you can't really move them. They become something called muktzah, right? Muktzah are things, we'll come to that later on in the book, things which cannot and should not be moved on Shabbat. It doesn't have a Shabbat purpose usage, or if it has already finished its Shabbat purpose usage, it becomes muktzah. So you're not supposed to move it. So then what do you do with the table, right? So if it's a nice clean table, right, fine. But typically, people eat and things get, we have the grandkids over, it gets, it gets a workout. So yeah. So we have a separate table on the side where Natalie and any guests that we have do the lighting. Yes. But that was a very a good observant observation there, Gabriella. Yes. Okay. Kiddush 76. Okay. So interesting. Kiddush. So Shabbat is mentioned in the 10 Commandments. And the 10 Commandments are mentioned twice. They're mentioned in the book of Exodus when telling when it happened. And then it's mentioned again in Deuteronomy and Devarim when Moshe is recounting the whole Jewish history until that point. And in one place it says, Shamor, observe, guard the day of Shabbat. The other one it says, Zachor, mention, remember the day of Shabbat. So the question is, well, which one did God say? And as we sing in the Lecha Dodi song that we sing Friday night, Shamor v'Zachor b'dibur echad. Shamor and Zachor, right? I can't say 2 words simultaneously, but that's what God said, and we heard both of them, Shamor v'Zachor. Shamor v'Zachor, and that's why you light 2 candles, right? Please God, children, you light an additional candle for each child. So you'll be lighting 3 at home there, Natalie, right? But a minimum of 2. Why? 1 for Shamor and 1 for Zachor. Okay? So Shamor means to guard, like to abstain. Zachor is the do. So that is the don't and the do of Shabbat. Now the don't of Shabbat, that some are familiar with. We got a whole book here to go through, right? And the don'ts of Shabbat are based on what's the magic number of the don'ts on Shabbat? 39. Why? Because there are 39 principal acts that went into the building of the Mishkan. The Mishkan was the tabernacle that we built for God's presence in the desert, and that was eventually incorporated into the Beit HaMikdash, into the temple in Jerusalem. And we mentioned earlier on, we always have the Shabbat Mikdash connection. Shabbat is God creating the world and making space for us in his world. Mikdash, Mishkan, sanctuary temple, is our creating space for God in our world. So Mikdash is holiness in place, in space. Shabbat is Kedusha Bizman, holiness in the realm of time. There's the realm of space, the realm of time. The realm of space, we have the Mikdash as the holy place, and that's why we say that our synagogues are called a Mikdash Ma'at. Mikdash Ma'at means a microcosm of the Mikdash. Okay, when I have non-Orthodox kids or people visiting, they say, Rabbi, why are the men and women sitting separately over here? So the simplest answer is our synagogue is a microcosm of the temple. And in the temple, there were separate areas for men and women, right? Why is that? Well, there is a certain chemistry when men are around women and women are around men. And that's a healthy chemistry. Marriage, all that is beautiful, important, big mitzvah. But in a time when we're praying, that's where our focus is meant to be, not on how, how am I looking, how am I appearing to others, but just, okay. So we have these two principles, shamor, zachor. Shamor is to abstain from doing. That's all the don'ts of Shabbat. Zachor is to mention, to remember, to mention. So the do of Shabbos is kiddush. Kiddush is we mention Shabbat as it comes in, and we mention Shabbat as it goes out. When you have an important guest, right? We welcome Shabbat with the words Boi Kala, welcome bride, welcome bride. So when an important event comes, we announce, we herald its arrival, and we escort its departure. So that is our Kiddush Friday night, and our Havdalah that we make. Havdalah is separation, and that's the prayer that we say as Shabbat ends. Okay, so this Kiddush is fundamental to Shabbat. Not only that, in general, women are exempted from positive time-bound mitzvot. Okay, shaking a lulav, eating in a sukkah. Okay, those are even blowing shofar that women have accepted upon themselves, but women are exempt from the positive time-bound mitzvot. Okay, a man does not have anything that's working on a time clock. Women with their cycles do have. So an understanding that's given is a woman is a time-bound mitzvah. She is the physical embodiment of the time-bound mitzvah, and the family purity. Have you started that with Natalie yet? The family purity laws, that is the mitzvah of women. So women are exempt from positive time-bound mitzvot.
Is it from the Torah? Is it from
Yes.
oral Torah?
From the Torah.
Wow.
From the Torah. You see, that's an interesting question, Natalie. Just had a conversation today with a young lady whose sister grew up Messianic Judaism. Her sister converted Orthodox Judaism, and now she is looking to take that step. So she wanted to talk to a rabbi. So I was nominated. So it's been a busy day. So she was asking about this, the Torah Shebaal Peh, this rabbinic Judaism. And I explained to her, this is very, very important. There are two different categories to Torah Shebaal Peh. Torah Shebaal Peh is the Torah, the oral Torah. We have the written Torah, the 5 books of Moshe, and we have the oral Torah. One category of the oral Torah is simply the explanation of the written Torah. So when the Torah says, talking about the mitzvah of tefillin, you should tie a knot onto your hand and have a totafot between your eyes. What's a totafot? If you look through all of Scripture, all of Tanakh, there's no totafot besides talking about tefillin. So Moshe asked God on Mount Sinai, oh, by the way, what is an oat and what's a totafot? And that was explained. It says he should do shechita, slaughtering. What does that mean? It says you should do circumcision. What does that mean? So all of that we know from the Torah Shebaal Peh, but that is the Torah itself, meaning that is simply when you have a map, you have a legend to the map. So the legend is not making up its own things. The legend is telling you when the map says this on the map is a distance of 20 miles. This on the map means it's mountains. This on the map means that. The Torah Shebaal Peh is the legend to the map of the written Torah. So does the Torah say women are not obligated in positive time and mitzvah? No, it doesn't say that explicitly, but it is derived from the Torah, and therefore that is considered to be a Torah law. Now, another category of Torah Shebaal Peh are those things which the rabbis instituted at different times. Muktzah, we mentioned before, not touching certain things on Shabbat. That is the fence around the Torah. Starting Shabbat early, that is the fence around the Torah. That's a good example I gave her. Lighting Shabbos candles. That's not derived from the Torah. That's a rabbinic institution in order to give the warmth, beauty, glow to the Shabbat. So when we talk about Torah Shebaal Peh, let's at this point say there are two main categories. There's the unpacking, right? The Torah is like a zip file. Right? We're old enough to know what zip file is. I said this to the teenagers. What's a zip file, right? We're enough. I think everyone here knows what a zip file is. Okay, we're all getting old over here, right? The Torah Shebaal Peh is the unzip of the zip file of the Torah. So that is a din Torah that women are obligated. So if I'm telling you that women are exempt from positive time-bound mitzvot, so you might ask, 1 second. Well, there are two examples that come to mind that are positive time-bound mitzvot, meaning, let's say, holiday mitzvot, that women are obligated in. One of them we had about 9 weeks ago, the Pesach Seder, eating matzah. Right, that's a positive time-bound mitzvot. Women are obligated. And Kiddush, also women are equally obligated as men in making Kiddush. But that goes against the rule, right? Shabbat is Kiddush on Shabbat is a positive time-bound mitzvah. Eating matzah is a positive. It's a to-do. When I say positive, I mean it's a to-do as opposed to a don't do, right? Eating pig is the don't do. Eating matzah is the do. Eating the chametz is the don't do. So the Gemara learns out, the Torah Shebaal Peh unpacks the Torah itself, that since the Torah puts together in one verse, don't eat chametz, eat matzah, don't eat the leavened bread on Passover, eat matzah. So therefore, women are exempt from the positive time-bound mitzvot. They're not exempt from the don't, the negative, the prohibitions, even if they're time-bound. So since a woman in the same verse is obligated to not eat the leavened bread on Passover, and that same verse says eat matzah, so we learn out all those who are commanded not to eat the chametz are commanded to eat the matzah. Therefore, Pesach is an exception of a positive time-bound mitzvah that women are obligated. Shabbat is the other example, because we said shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. The shamor, the don'ts of Shabbat, and the do's of Shabbat were said simultaneously by God on Sinai. Therefore, whoever is instructed in the don'ts of Shabbat is also commanded in the do's of Shabbat. So when it comes to Kiddush, women are equally obligated as men are. Okay, Kiddush is recited over a cup of wine or grape juice. Okay, there are two blessings. One blessing is Mekadesh HaShabbat, right? That God sanctifies the Shabbat. we do it. Well, why do we do it over a cup of wine or grape juice? That lends gravitas. It lends reverence to it. Like under a chuppah, we make the blessing of the marriage. We also make the blessing over a cup of wine. At a brit milah, a circumcision, we make the blessing of the circumcision. We make a blessing over a cup of wine. When it is an important event, so we lend reverence to it by making a blessing over a cup of wine. Women are obligated in the mitzvah of Kiddush as well as in all the other laws of Shabbat. Okay. The blessing on wine in the Kiddush, on 176, yeah, exempts one from having to recite any blessing on wine during the meal. Okay? Typically, if I'm having a meal, a bread meal, what does the bread accomplish for me at the meal? I make a blessing over the bread and then covers everything, okay? Except for wine, right? If I'm having wine, bread and wine have special significance. Bread is considered to be the staple of the meal, and wine is an elevated sort of drink. So if I made hamotzi, I made the blessing on bread at the start of a meal, right? Now, we have a wide range, right, of wonderful Jewish journeyers over here, right? Some who are really just starting the journey, some who have completed the journey, some who are on the verge of completing the journey, right? So I'm trying to make sure that I'm covering everything, but I also don't want to leave anyone behind. So if I'm saying anything that is unclear, most important thing is don't be bashful, okay? Raise your hand and say, what the heck are you talking about? Okay, if necessary. Okay, so yeah. So when it comes to blessings on food, if we're having a bread meal, we make the bracha of hamotzi lechem and ours. We make the bread blessing, and that covers all items of the meal. Any drinks, any food, except for wine. Over here, so on a Friday night meal, we're going to make Kiddush, the blessing over the wine and welcoming in the Shabbat. Going to drink some wine or grape juice. That will cover any wine that we have during the meal. Okay? And then Hamotzi, we make the blessing over the bread then, that will cover any other foods. So basically on a Friday night, you're making those two brachot of the Kiddush. You're making the bracha of washing your hands. You're making the bracha of hamotzi, and then you're making your blessing, your grace after meals, the bracha we do after bench. Okay, so that's the third paragraph, right? The blessing on wine in the Kiddush exempts one from having to recite any blessing on wine during the meal. Birkat hamazon, that's the grace after meals, and the meal likewise exempts one from having to recite the bracha acharona, an after blessing on the wine that he had in Kiddush during the meal. Yeah, let's see. Let's see this little box here. This is from Rambam Maimonides, right? The bottom of there, 176. This is what we discussed already. It is a positive mitzvah of the Torah to make the day of Shabbat holy with words, as it says, "Zachor et Yom HaShabbat likadsho." Remember the Shabbat day to make it holy, which means remember it by a remembrance, mention of praise and Kiddush sanctification is required by the words of the Sofrim to make Kiddush. So the rabbi said this Torah obligation of mentioning the Shabbat as it comes in should be done in the context of making Kiddush. Okay? But again, women are equally obligated as men in making the Kiddush. When we're living in Israel and the kids were young, and my boys were not yet bar mitzvah, and if I was traveling to the States for a wedding, whatever I was traveling for, so then Natalie would not have the kids make Kiddush because they are kids. They're not yet bar mitzvah. They're not yet obligated. She would make the Kiddush, and the boys would laugh and laugh. Sounds so funny to them that mommy's making Kiddush instead of daddy. Whatever. But that's what it is, right? Equally obligated, men and women in Kiddush. Yes, Rachel.
So every Shabbat that like I've gone to somebody else's house, usually the husband would be the one to make Kiddush. For instance, if I were to invite somebody to my home where there is no husband, it's me and Orly, who then, and say I invite a couple, or I invite maybe not a couple, but they're singles that are a mixture of men and women.
You could make the Kiddush. Typically, you would ask one of the men there if they like to make Kiddush, right? But we have had bat mitzvah celebrations where the bat mitzvah girl would make a Kiddush, right? So halachically, a woman certainly can, right? The group that we dealt with would shoot me for this, right? But yeah, halachically, everyone agrees that a woman can, right? In those situations that you mentioned, so the typical thing would be to see if a man would like to make a Kiddush. Typically, it's made by a man, right? But technically, it can be made by a woman, and certainly, if you guys are on your own, then one of you would make Kiddush, or both of you would make a Kiddush. Yeah.
So the Kiddush is the one that you hold.
You hold a cup of wine. Yeah.
I should know that.
Yeah. Both of you would make Kiddush since it's just the two of you. But let's say you're having these 5 other wonderful women over your house for Friday night. So then only one person should make Kiddush and not 2, because it's hard to hear two voices simultaneously. So it'll be hard to concentrate. So it's easier with one. I have much regret that my father, alav hashalom, so he very much liked us all to say Kiddush together, right? And I came back from yeshiva and I said, well, Dad, that's really not the best way to do it. Right? Really, just you should make. But I want my boy, right? Now, that's what the Shulchan Aruch, the Mishnah Brura, which is the Chavetz Chaim on the quoted Jewish law, that's what he writes by the laws of Kiddush. But later on, he writes by the laws of Hallel that if there's certain things that are very dear to a person, then even if it's 2 voices, you will hear, you will discern. And he gives an example over there of Kiddush. So even though by Kiddush he said best not to have 2, over there he said by Kiddush he could have 2. And I wish I would have known that, and I would have leaned that way to give my father the pleasure of having his boy say Kiddush with him, instead of me saying, no, Dad, I'm sorry. Yeah. We learn as we grow up. Okay.
Oh, so sorry.
Yes.
Kids, no, you said kids not, right? Until they say bar mitzvah.
So let's say Adam would not say Kiddush for you, because Adam is not yet bar mitzvah.
Oh, but what if it's 3 of us there, and then he does Kiddush?
So Ryan should do, your husband should do the Kiddush.
He won't let us.
Huh?
Adam was like, I want to do Kiddush.
So let Adam do it along with Ryan.
Okay,
Look, in your situation, so you and Adam are not yet Jewish. Ryan is.
Okay.
Right? Ryan's there. Yeah, so Ryan, so you should be making Kiddush, right? Because Adam can't really do it for you. At this point, he's not yet bar mitzvah and he's not yet Jewish. Right?
We've just been picking our battles, so.
Okay.
No, but
I
it's
hear
like
that. I hear that. You know what? So Ryan, so if Adam really wants to do it, let Adam do it, and you should say it quietly along for yourself.
Yeah. I think maybe we can have both have our own cups, and
I'm sorry.
we can have our own cups, and
yeah. Each of you have a cup.
Duet.
That will also work.
He's more Jewish than his dad.
Their son Ryan is very passionate. The son Adam, sorry, is very, very passionate.
So in a situation where family, when they fully convert and everything, and Adam maybe he's not bar mitzvah yet, he still wants to say Kiddush. Could he say it for the family, or would
he wouldn't say it for the family because he can't say it on behalf of his parents, right? Because a person who's not yet bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah can't do, or a girl also can't, until she's bat mitzvah, can't be saying it for others. Only one who is obligated is able to do it on behalf of others. and before a boy turns 13 and a girl turns 12, they're not yet obligated, right? And that's another example that the rabbis derive it, unpack it from the Torah. It's not explicit in the Torah, but that is a Torah law. Okay, so that's another example. I mean, there are hordes of examples of Torah laws that are explained to us or shown to us or derived, right, by the rabbis, right? And that's why the Torah Shabbal Peh, the Talmud, right, those teachings are considered to be Torah level teachings. Okay, same level as the Torah.
Can I clarify something really quick?
Of course.
So, how it says, obviously, women are obligated in the mitzvah of Kiddush. So, like when Paz is saying it, am I paying that mitzvah because he's saying it?
Yes, yes.
It?
Okay, good. Thank you. That's an important point. A very important point. So when when a person makes Kiddush, so if I'm doing the mitzvah, then I have you in mind. When I make Kiddush, let's say a Shabbat lunch here, right, at our Kiddush, I have everyone in mind. And everyone should have in mind that they intend to fulfill. So I intend that this mitzvah that I'm making now will count for everyone, and everyone needs to have in mind that the mitzvah will count for them. Like when someone blows the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, he has in mind that everyone should fulfill the mitzvah through my blowing of the shofar, and we have in mind, I intend to fulfill my mitzvah through hearing the blowing of his shofar. So you need that double intent, the intent of the one doing it and the intent of the one for whom it is being done. Okay? That's called the yotze and the motzi. Okay? Now, you don't have to drink wine or grape juice or drink that wine or that grape juice, right? I'm making Kiddush on this. So what we typically do is I'll pour off, right? I'll have for myself and Natalie, and then I'll take from that Kiddush cup and I'll pour for everyone. But alternatively, a person could have some wine or grape juice in their own cup and then drink that. Or, I don't like wine or grape juice. Don't drink wine or grape juice. You don't need to drink the wine or grape juice to be yotze the mitzvah of Kiddush. Okay? But when Paz is making Kiddush, so you have in mind, right? Right? Paz is not on time.
He's on call in the surgery right now.
Okay. Well, you'll tell Paz
I'll make sure he knows
that he has you in mind, right? And you have in mind to fulfill the mitzvah along with him. Good. Okay, I think we'll call it over here. Something else I do want to tell you, then it slipped my mind. It happens all the time. Okay. Yes.
About this page, just something. It says to rinse the cup.
Yes.
Is there like a time component to how long before?
So let's just see that, right? Right. Let's see 77. The cup used should contain at least a revius, right? At least 3 ounces or 3.5 ounces. Most Kiddush cups hold more than that, so you don't have to worry. Okay. It must be held without any defects or cracks. Fair enough, right? And before Kiddush, the cup should be rinsed with water both inside and out. Yeah, and that can be done as you're setting the table.
Oh.
Yeah. That doesn't need to be done immediately before or after, and that's something that should be done. Okay, good. So we'll pick up, my friends, next week. Yeah, good. We're on next week on page 77.
Can I ask you one more question?
No, time's up.
There is a long one, we can talk about it, but it's just something that's been on my mind.
Yes.
So when we walk to Shul, we obviously pass like a ton of major streets, and those lights don't change unless you hit the button.
Correct.
And the impas have been like, what are we supposed to do? Do we hit the button so we get across the street safely? Do we run?
Okay.
What do we do?
So we don't hit the button.
Do you deal with this too?
And we don't get hit.
We walk down Michelson, and those lights can be really long.
I go across
But
Michelson and
you have
Jamboree.
to time it.
Yeah.
You have to time it.
So
you'll make it.
the city of Irvine, all right, God bless them. So the crossing by Culver, I send them the times, and they for holidays and for Shabbat, and they have it go onto automatic pedestrian recall. Okay?
Nice.
Yeah, the
That's
other,
reason to
Is
live
that
in that
right?
area.
Is that why the one that what we're on here is the automatic one come up? That's what I
Yeah,
on
thought.
Shabbat and Yom Tov.
Jamboree
Yeah.
and Michael's.
Yes, no
You
wonder.
can't get across unless the button is hit, I swear.
Jamboree. So
Oh,
you're
that
you,
one's
you're
harder.
you're,
It's so long.
you're
It
beyond
has
Jam.
like six.
What you're beyond Jamboree?
Yeah.
You got to cross Jamboree.
Oh, you're on that busy one, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
Yeah. So what I do if I'm walking if I'm crossing, let's say we're going back to someone's house and it's late and we don't have pedestrian recall. So what I do is I go away from the light, go down 20, 30, 40 yards. That way they're not coming from all these different angles. They come from one place. And typically you can go halfway and there's a median. So a median in Jamboree also?
It's just a little double yellow.
Double yellow.
What I do is like when they
It's challenging.
No, we've tried to make room
green
for
for
it.
when they turn green for the cars, I walk with it.
Right. So typically if you have green for the cars and not for so if you have green for the cars and it's not also the turning, right? Yeah, so when the cars are going straight,
It's
crossing
not
Michelson.
long enough unless you press the thing.
No, so you have to do a little jog. You guys are young.
You're gonna be jogging cars. It's good, girl. You're trying to
Yeah.
You just press.
That is a challenge. Yeah, but we
I didn't know if there was like.
yeah, but we can't hit that.
I almost ran us
Right.
into
Also, by Culver and Michelson, usually there are people who are there, who are hitting the thing. I guess less people over there
Right.
by Jamboree.
Sometimes we get lucky.
Yeah.
Somebody's there.
Okay, so you just have to move closer to the shore or within the Eruv. That's
I know.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, guys, we'll call it over here. I should collapse everything.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
And it was pretty quick. Are you gonna go to the Ryan's mom's?
Yes.
Or business us?
What time do we set a time yet to go? Ryan, you still there? Ryan is still there. Tomorrow morning, what time do you want to go to the cemetery?
What is
I can
like
go at
whenever
about
you're available.
9.
Okay.
Okay, so I can go at about 8:45. What do you guys want? Either way, you guys can swing by.
Oh, sorry, it's kind of breaking up. Shoot. Adam, hello.